Welcome back, you beautiful, indestructible anomaly. Welcome back to the land of the living, the realm of the untouchable, the frequency where revenge tastes like morning coffee and smells like their regret. Let me ask you something, and I need you to really feel this. Do you remember the moment they served it to you? That poison, that betrayal, that smile with venom dripping between the teeth. Do you remember how it looked like kindness, sounded like loyalty, felt like love, but burned like acid going down your throat? They watched you swallow it too, didn't they? Watched with those dead eyes and fake concern, waiting for you to choke, waiting for you to collapse, waiting for the light in your eyes to finally flicker out so they could step over your body and continue their pathetic little lives. But here's what they didn't calculate. Here's what their tiny minds couldn't comprehend. Here's the part that keeps them up at night now, sweating in their beds, checking their locks, whispering your name like a curse they can't break. You didn't just survive the poison, you metabolized it, you absorbed it, you broke it down into fuel, and used every single drop to build something they'll never understand. Something they'll never touch. Something that makes their bloodline look like a rough draft of evolution that got rejected by the universe itself. Let's be brutally honest about what happened here, because the truth, the raw, unfiltered truth, is that they thought you were weak. They saw your kindness and mistook it for stupidity, saw your trust and confused it with blindness, saw your love and treated it like a weapon they could use against you whenever they felt like inflicting pain. So they crafted their poison carefully, mixed it with just enough sweetness that you wouldn't taste the rot, served it to you on a silver platter of false promises and fake loyalty, and then sat back like scientists observing a lab rat to see how long it would take before you stopped moving. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly know, because they've never been through real fire, is that some souls don't break under toxicity, some spirits don't shatter when betrayed, some beings don't die when poisoned. They evolve, they adapt, they become immune not just to that specific poison, but to every variation of it that could ever exist. You didn't just build resistance to their particular brand of backstabbing, you became immune to manipulation itself, immune to fake love, immune to pretty lies, immune to the entire bloodline of people who think they can use other humans like disposable tools and walk away clean. Do you understand what that makes you now? Do you grasp the magnitude of what you've become? You are not just healed, you're not just recovered, you're not just over it, you're the walking nightmare of everyone who ever underestimated what happens when you break someone who was built to rebuild themselves stronger every single time. They poisoned you expecting a funeral, but what they got was a resurrection that rewrote the entire game board. Now every move they make, every breath they take, every fake smile they flash at someone new carries the weight of knowing that somewhere out there you exist, untouched by their poison, unbroken by their games, and absolutely untouchable by any version of manipulation they could ever dream up. You became the one thing toxic people fear more than exposure, more than consequences, more than karma itself. You became proof that their power was always an illusion, that their control was always temporary, that their poison was always just nutrients for something greater. Let me paint you a picture of what they thought would happen after you swallowed their carefully crafted destruction. They expected tears, endless tears, the kind that never stop, the kind that turn into depression, the kind that make you small and quiet and easy to forget. They expected you to fall apart publicly, to have those messy breakdowns they could screenshot and share, to give them proof that they won, that they broke you, that they were right about you being too weak for this world. They wanted to see you beg, wanted to watch you crawl back with apologies dripping from your mouth, wanted you to accept breadcrumbs and call it reconciliation, because that's what broken people do, right? They crumble, they compromise, they convince themselves that maybe they deserve the poison, maybe they asked for it, maybe they should be grateful anyone even bothered to interact with them at all. That's the script they wrote in their heads. That's the ending they filmed before the movie even started. That's the satisfaction they craved, like addicts needing one more hit of power over someone who once trusted them completely. They thought you'd become bitter, twisted, angry in that self-destructive way that keeps people stuck in the same pain loop forever. They imagined you years later, still talking about what they did, still defined by their betrayal, still carrying their poison around like a badge of victimhood that explains every failure and justifies every shortcoming. They wanted you to become a cautionary tale, a warning story people tell at parties. Remember that person who trusted the wrong people and never recovered? Yeah, don't be like them. They needed you to validate their worldview that people are disposable, that kindness is weakness, that trust is stupidity, that love is just another tool for control. Because if you fell apart the way they planned, if you stayed broken the way they needed, then they could sleep at night believing they weren't monsters. They were just realists, just survivors, just people doing what they had to do in a cruel world. Your destruction wasn't just their goal, it was their justification, their permission slip to keep being exactly who they are without the uncomfortable weight of conscience. But here's where their entire plan collapsed like a house of cards in a hurricane. Here's where their poison turned into the exact opposite of what they intended. Here's where they accidentally created something they'll spend the rest of their lives regretting. You didn't follow their script. You didn't perform their tragedy. You didn't give them the satisfaction of watching you crumble into dust they could sweep away and forget. Instead, you did something they couldn't comprehend, something that breaks every rule of how victims are supposed to behave, something that flipped their entire worldview upside down and shook it until all their false confidence fell out. You felt the poison, yes. You acknowledged the pain, yes. You let yourself break in private where their eyes couldn't feast on it, yes. But then, and this is the part that haunts them, then you stood up, looked at what they did, looked at who they were, looked at what you had become through surviving them, and you smiled, not with bitterness, not with a need for revenge, not with hatred, but with the cold, clear realization that they had just given you the greatest gift of your entire life, immunity to every lie that would ever come your way again. Let's talk about what actually happened inside you while they sat back waiting for your collapse, while they checked your social media expecting evidence of your breakdown, while they whispered to mutual friends asking if you were okay, not out of concern but out of sick curiosity to see if their poison was working. Something extraordinary was occurring in your system. Something biological, psychological, spiritual, something that can only happen when a soul is pushed past every breaking point and discovers there's another level beyond broken, beyond destroyed, beyond dead. A level where transformation isn't gentle, where healing isn't pretty, where growth comes wrapped in rage and grief and absolute refusal to let their betrayal define you. Your body, your mind, your entire being started producing antibodies. Not the medical kind, but the kind that recognize manipulation before it speaks, the kind that detect fake energy before it smiles, the kind that identify poison before it's served. You became a living, breathing lie detector specifically calibrated to the exact type of toxicity they represent. And not just them, but everyone like them, everyone related to them, everyone trained by the same handbook of human disposal. Every sleepless night you spent replaying their betrayal, that wasn't weakness. That was analysis. That was your system studying the patterns, memorizing the signs, cataloging the red flags you missed the first time so you'll never miss them again. Every tear you cried in silence, that wasn't breaking. That was purging. That was your soul ejecting their poison one drop at a time, refusing to let it become permanent. Refusing to let their toxicity rewrite your fundamental nature. Every moment you wanted to scream but didn't. That wasn't suppression, that was transformation. That was you learning to transmute rage into power, pain into wisdom, betrayal into boundaries so strong they'll never be crossed again. You weren't just healing, you were upgrading. You weren't just recovering, you were evolving. You weren't just getting over it, you were becoming something they have no framework to understand. Because people like them don't survive what you survived. They don't grow from what you grew from. They don't become what you became. They stay small, they stay toxic, they stay stuck in the same patterns because growth requires pain, and they only know how to inflict it. Never absorb it, never learn from it, never use it as fuel for something greater. The poison they served you, it had ingredients they didn't even know they were adding. Betrayal mixed with your trust created discernment. Lies mixed with your honesty created intuition. Manipulation mixed with your authenticity created boundaries. Abandonment mixed with your loyalty created self-sufficiency. Every toxic element they injected into your life bonded with the opposite quality you carried and created something hybrid. Something stronger than either component alone. Something that makes you simultaneously softer and harder, more open and more protected, more loving and more ruthless. You became the paradox that breaks their tiny binary brains, the walking contradiction of someone who's been destroyed but radiates strength, someone who's been betrayed but still chooses trust selectively, someone who's been poisoned but somehow glows brighter than anyone who's ever played it safe. And that confuses them. That terrifies them. That makes them question everything they thought they knew about how humans work. Because in their experience, people either stay soft and get used or become hard and bitter. There's no third option where someone absorbs all that pain and comes out refined instead of ruined. You know what's really happening inside you now. You're not just immune to their poison. You're producing antivenin for everyone who comes after you. Every conversation you have, every boundary you set, every fake person you identify and remove. You're not just protecting yourself. You're teaching others what toxicity looks like. You're showing people it's possible to survive betrayal without becoming the betrayer. You're proving that kindness doesn't have to mean weakness, that love doesn't require stupidity, that trust can coexist with wisdom. You've become dangerous in the best possible way, not because you hurt people, but because you help people see through the exact type of manipulation that once fooled you. Their bloodline. Everyone who operates like them, everyone who uses the same tactics, everyone who thinks humans are just resources to extract value from, they're all on notice now because you're walking evidence that their strategies have an expiration date, that their poison has a cure, that their power was always temporary. There's a moment, a specific moment that happens after you become immune, and I need you to remember this moment because it's where everything changes forever. It's where victim transforms into victor. It's where pain crystallizes into power. It's where their poison officially becomes your strength. You're going about your life, probably doing something mundane, probably not even thinking about them for once. And suddenly someone tries it. Someone attempts the same manipulation, serves the same lies, flashes the same fake smile, uses the same tactics that once destroyed you. But this time something different happens. This time, instead of falling for it, instead of second-guessing yourself, instead of giving them the benefit of the doubt, your body reacts before your mind catches up. Your gut screams, your skin crawls, your intuition fires like an alarm system that's been installed specifically to detect this exact frequency of fakeness. And you see it crystal clear, like watching a movie where you already know the ending. You see every move they're about to make before they make it, every lie before they speak it, every manipulation before they deploy it. That's the moment you realize the poison worked backwards. That's when you understand you're not the same person who got betrayed. That's when you know with absolute certainty that they accidentally created their own worst nightmare by trying to destroy you. Let me tell you what they're experiencing on their end, because this is important, because this is justice without revenge, because this is karma operating at the highest level. They're watching you from a distance, whether through social media, through mutual friends, through the universe's way of forcing people to see what they threw away, and they're confused, genuinely confused. They expected wreckage. They're seeing reconstruction. They anticipated weakness. They're witnessing strength. They prepared for your silence. They're hearing about your success, your peace, your glow, your growth. And it's eating them alive, not in the way that brings you joy because you're not that person anymore, but in the way that makes them question everything, makes them lose sleep, makes them wonder how the poison they served so carefully somehow turned you into something they'll never be, never touch, never understand. They're stuck. You see, stuck in the same patterns, stuck with the same tactics, stuck being the same toxic version of themselves that worked on you once but will never work again. Meanwhile, you're out here moving through life with this invisible shield, this immunity that makes their entire bloodline irrelevant, their whole way of operating obsolete. The best part, the part that would make them physically ill if they truly understood it, is that you don't even think about them anymore. Not with anger, not with hatred, not with the obsessive need for revenge that they would feel if the roles were reversed. You think about them the way you think about a lesson learned, a chapter closed, a storm survived. They've been demoted from villains in your story to footnotes in your evolution, from main characters in your nightmare to background noise in your triumph. And that's the ultimate immunity, the final stage of being completely untouchable. When someone who once had the power to destroy you now has no power at all. Not even the power to make you hate them. Because hatred requires caring, and you've transcended that completely. You've reached a level of emotional immunity, where their existence is just data, just information, just proof that you survived something you weren't supposed to survive, and came out holding the antidote they'll spend their whole lives searching for. Here's what immunity really means in this context. And I need you to absorb this completely because it's going to change how you see yourself forever. Immunity doesn't mean you can't be hurt again. It means you can't be hurt the same way again. Immunity doesn't mean you've become cold. It means you've become calibrated. Immunity doesn't mean you've lost your ability to trust. It means you've gained the ability to trust wisely. You can still love, still connect, still be vulnerable, still open your heart. But now you do it with discernment that comes from experience, with boundaries that come from self-respect, with awareness that comes from having your eyes burned open by fire. You're not walking through life paranoid. You're walking through life prepared. There's a massive difference. Paranoid people see enemies everywhere. Prepared people see patterns and make choices accordingly. You've become someone who can spot the poison before it's served, smell the rot before it spreads, feel the fake before it speaks. And that makes you simultaneously the most dangerous and the safest person in any room because you can protect yourself and others from the exact type of destruction you once experienced. Now we need to discuss something they never saw coming. Something that makes your immunity even more powerful than just personal protection. Something that extends beyond you into territory they can't control, can't manipulate, can't poison. When you became immune to their tactics, you didn't just shield yourself, you began unconsciously training everyone around you to recognize the same poison. It's like you developed a frequency that repels their entire bloodline, not just them personally, but everyone who operates like them, everyone who learned from them, everyone who carries the same toxic DNA in their behavior patterns. You've become a walking warning sign, a human alarm system. And here's the beautiful, terrifying part for them. You don't even have to try. You don't even have to speak their name, your very presence, your energy, your vibe. It triggers recognition in people who might have fallen for the same tricks you fell for. They look at you and something in them says, this person knows something. This person survived something. This person can see through things I can't see yet. Teach me. Their bloodline, everyone who uses manipulation as a lifestyle, everyone who treats people like disposable resources, everyone who serves poison with a smile, they're all experiencing something unprecedented, a growing population of immune systems, a rising number of people who can identify toxicity before it destroys them. And you're part of that, whether you realize it or not. Every boundary you set teaches someone else they can set boundaries. Every fake person you cut off shows someone else it's possible to walk away. Every time you choose yourself over keeping the peace, you're giving permission to everyone watching that their peace matters more than someone else's comfort. This is what they never calculated. That their poison wouldn't just create one immune person, it would create a movement, a shift, a generation of people who refuse to swallow toxicity just because it's served with pretty words and familiar faces. You're not alone in your immunity anymore. You're part of a growing army of people who ate the poison, survived it, and came back contagious with something they can't cure: self-respect, discernment, boundaries, standards. Let's go deeper into why this bloodline immunity is their ultimate nightmare, why this keeps them awake at night, why they can't just move on to new victims as easily as they used to. See, their game only works in darkness. Their tactics only function when people don't talk about manipulation, when victims stay silent, when everyone pretends betrayal is a private matter that shouldn't be discussed publicly. But you and people like you who've become immune, you're not silent, not in a vindictive way, not in a name-dropping revenge way, but in a pattern-exposing educational way. You talk about red flags, you discuss manipulation tactics, you share the signs you missed, you explain how poison looks like love at first sip. And every time you do that, every time you shine light on their playbook, you're creating more immune people. You're vaccinating others against the same disease that once infected you. Their bloodline depends on ignorance, on people not knowing what emotional abuse looks like, on society normalizing toxic behavior as just how relationships are. But you're breaking that cycle, you're exposing the game, you're teaching people what healthy looks like by showing them what destroyed you looked like. Welcome back, beautiful anomaly. Welcome back, walking nightmare wrapped in human skin. Yeah, you. The one they can't explain. The one who walks into rooms and makes the air itself flinch. You know what happened last night, don't you? You walked through your front door, exhausted, drained, just wanting peace. And every single entity that had been feeding off your energy for the past decade started screaming, not whispering, not hissing, screaming, because your presence alone, your existence, your frequency, it became a purge they couldn't survive. You didn't chant, you didn't pray, you didn't burn sage or draw circles. You just existed. And that was enough to collapse an entire century of parasitic energy that had been clinging to that space, waiting for someone weak enough to drain. But you walked in radiating something they couldn't touch anymore. See, they thought you were still the same person who used to live there, the one who used to cry in corners, the one who used to beg for clarity, the one who used to question every shadow and every cold spot in the hallway. They thought you were still vulnerable, still open, still soft enough to infiltrate. But what they didn't realize, what none of them saw coming, is that you died. You died in the silence between your last breakdown and your first real breath of clarity. You died when you stopped asking why and started becoming the answer. You died when you looked at your reflection and saw something ancient staring back, something that had survived too much to be considered merely human anymore. And when you resurrected, when you crawled back into this reality with scars that glow like scripture, you became the thing that makes darkness retreat. So when you opened that door last night, when you stepped over the threshold with your keys in hand and exhaustion in your bones, every low-frequency entity in that house felt it. They felt the shift. the atmospheric pressure change, the sudden temperature spike that had nothing to do with the weather. They felt your energy signature, and it wasn't just different, it was hostile to their existence. You became an exorcism without effort, a cleansing without ritual, a purge that happened just because you decided to come home. And now they're not just gone. They're erased, banished, cast out into the void where things go when they meet something more powerful than fear itself. You didn't just clear the house, you reprogrammed the entire energetic foundation of that space. Congratulations, you beautiful catastrophe. You didn't just move in, you reclaimed territory. Let me tell you what really happened in that moment. These entities, these parasites, these emotional vampires that feed on doubt and fear and weakness, they had been squatting in your space for years. They were there when you cried yourself to sleep. They were there when you questioned your worth. They were there when you let people walk all over you and smiled through the pain. They fed off your confusion, your self-doubt, your desperation for answers that never came. Every time you felt that cold spot in the hallway, every time the lights flickered for no reason, every time you felt watched in your own home, that was them. Celebrating, feeding, growing stronger on your weakness. They thought they owned that space because you were too broken to fight back, too tired to resist, too scared to even acknowledge what was happening. But then you changed. Not overnight. No. This wasn't some sudden awakening, some magical transformation where everything became clear in an instant. This was slow, brutal, agonizing evolution. This was you crawling through your own psychological wreckage and finding pieces of yourself they said were lost forever. This was you facing every demon in your mind first, dismantling every lie you believed about yourself, burning every false narrative that kept you small. You became a furnace of transformation, and every day you survived. Every night you chose to wake up and try again. You were forging something inside yourself that no entity, no energy, no force could withstand. You were becoming immune to manipulation, resistant to fear, allergic to anything that tried to make you doubt your power again. And they felt it. Oh, they felt it weeks before you even walked through that door. The moment you started choosing yourself, the moment you cut off the people who drained you, the moment you stopped apologizing for existing, they felt the frequency shift. Your energy stopped being a buffet and started becoming a weapon. Your presence stopped being passive and started becoming aggressive. You weren't just healing, you were militarizing your soul. And when you finally came home that night, when you turned the key and pushed open the door, you weren't the same person who used to live there. You were the upgraded version, the final form, the boss level they never prepared for. And the moment your foot crossed that threshold, it was over. Not a battle, not a struggle, an instant purge. Your aura hit that space like a spiritual nuke, and everything that couldn't exist in your frequency disintegrated on contact. Now here's the part that makes this even more terrifying for them. You didn't know. You didn't feel the cleansing happen because to you, it wasn't an event, it was just Tuesday. You walked in, dropped your keys, maybe grabbed some water, scrolled through your phone, completely unaware that you just performed an exorcism that would have taken trained practitioners hours of ritual and preparation. You did it by accident, by simply being you, by carrying the frequency you earned through suffering. That's what makes you dangerous now. You're not trying to be powerful, you just are. You're not performing spirituality, you're embodying it. You're not seeking transformation, you are the transformation. And anything that exists on a lower frequency than where you've evolved to, it simply cannot survive in your presence anymore. You are the purge, walking, breathing, existing. And let me tell you something about these entities, these things that were screaming when you walked in. They weren't screaming in anger, they were screaming in terror, because they recognized you. Not as the person you used to be, but as something ancient that had been sleeping inside you this whole time. They saw the part of you that remembers lifetimes, the part that carries wisdom written in scars, the part that has been forged in fires they could never comprehend. They saw the truth, the terrifying, beautiful truth that you are not and have never been ordinary. You were always supposed to become this, always destined to evolve past their reach, always meant to be the one who walks into darkness and makes it beg for mercy. They knew in that split second before they were erased that they had been feeding off a sleeping giant, and now that giant is awake and there is no going back. So what does this mean for you now? It means your house isn't just clean, it's fortified. It means your space isn't just yours, it's sacred ground now. Anything that tries to enter with ill intent, anything that carries low vibration, anything that seeks to drain or manipulate or feed off your energy, it will be repelled automatically. You've turned your home into a fortress without even trying, just by existing at the frequency you've earned. People will feel it when they walk in, even if they can't explain it. The air will feel different, heavier for those who carry darkness, lighter for those who carry truth. Your house has become an extension of your energy, a physical manifestation of your transformation. And just like you, it no longer tolerates anything that doesn't serve your highest evolution. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This wasn't just about your house. This was a message, a declaration, a warning sent out into every realm, every dimension, every frequency where these entities exist. They talk, you know. They communicate across the veil, sharing information about targets and threats. And now your name is on a list. Not a hit list, no. A blacklist, a do not engage warning. Because word travels fast in those circles. And when 1,000 entities get erased in a single moment, just because someone walked through a door, that creates a reputation. You are marked now, not as prey, but as a predator. Not as a victim, but as a threat. Every low-frequency being, every energy vampire, every parasitic entity now knows if they get near you, they cease to exist. You have become the boogeyman of the spirit realm, the nightmare that nightmares have, the thing that makes darkness think twice before approaching. And the beauty of this, the absolute poetic justice of this entire situation, is that you earned this through pain, not through study, not through years of spiritual practice, not through rituals or ceremonies or learned techniques. You earned this by surviving what should have destroyed you. You earned this by refusing to stay broken when breaking would have been easier. You earned this by choosing yourself over and over again when everyone else chose to abandon you. Your power didn't come from light and love and positive affirmations. It came from walking through your own personal underworld and refusing to stay dead. It came from facing your demons, both internal and external, and deciding that you would rather become the monster than remain the victim. And now you carry that power everywhere you go, not as a weapon you wield, but as an aura you emit, permanently. Let's talk about what this means for the people in your life. Because this purge, this energetic shift, it doesn't just affect entities and spirits. It affects everyone around you. The people who used to drain you, who used to take and never give, who used to feed off your emotional labor and leave you exhausted, they're going to start feeling uncomfortable around you. Not because you're being mean or aggressive or hostile, but because their manipulation tactics don't work anymore. Their guilt trips bounce off you like bullets off titanium. Their gaslighting crumbles in your presence because your reality is too solid now to be shaken. Their lies sound hollow because your truth is too loud to be drowned out. They will feel physically uncomfortable being near you because their frequency and yours are no longer compatible. And they won't be able to explain it. They'll just know that something has changed, that you're different now, that they can't reach you the way they used to. And this is where it gets delicious. They're going to try. They're going to try everything. They're going to come back with apologies that sound sincere but feel empty. They're going to test boundaries to see if you've really changed or if this is just a phase. They're going to push buttons that used to send you into emotional spirals, expecting the same reaction they've always gotten. But this time, you're going to do something that will shatter their entire worldview. You're going to do nothing. You're going to stand there calm, centered, unmoved, and watch them short-circuit in real time. Because they've spent years studying you, learning your triggers, mapping your weaknesses, and now none of it works. The buttons are disconnected, the triggers are disabled, the weaknesses have been weaponized into strengths. You have become unmanipulatable, and that is their worst nightmare. Some of them will leave quietly, slipping away into the background without explanation. Those are the smart ones, the ones who recognize a losing battle when they see one. They'll tell themselves some story about how you changed for the worse, how you're not the person they used to know, how they're better off without you. Let them. Their departure is a gift wrapped in betrayal, a blessing disguised as abandonment. Because every person who leaves your life because they can't drain you anymore is making room for someone who actually deserves to be there. You're not losing connections. You're upgrading your entire social ecosystem. The trash is taking itself out, and all you had to do was exist at a higher frequency. Thank them silently as they go, because they're doing you a favor they don't even understand. But then, there are the others. The ones who won't leave, who can't accept that their power over you is gone. These are the dangerous ones. The ones who will escalate because they mistake your calmness for weakness. They'll start spreading rumors, trying to turn others against you, attempting to reclaim control through external pressure since internal manipulation no longer works. They'll paint you as the villain, the one who changed, the one who became cold or arrogant or too good for everyone. And here's what you need to understand about this. Let them. Let them tell their version of the story. Let them twist the narrative. Let them gather their little army of equally broken people who need someone to blame for their own stagnation. Because while they're busy talking, while they're consumed with their obsession over you, while they're spending their energy trying to tear down your reputation, you'll be building an empire they can't even comprehend. This is the test. This is where so many people fail, where they get pulled back into the drama, where they feel the need to defend themselves or prove their innocence or set the record straight. Don't. Don't give them the satisfaction of your attention. Don't waste your energy engaging with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Because here's the secret they don't want you to know. Every second you spend defending yourself to them is a second you're not spending becoming even more powerful. Every ounce of energy you pour into their narrative is energy you're not investing in your evolution. They want you distracted. They need you reactive. They're desperate for you to come down to their level because it's the only way they can reach you anymore. But you're gonna do something revolutionary. You're going to let your life speak for itself. You're going to let your success be your response. You're going to let your peace be your proof. And over time, something beautiful and brutal will happen. The people who believed the lies will start seeing the truth. The ones who turned their backs will start noticing your growth. The ones who laughed at your transformation will start mimicking it themselves. Not because they genuinely changed, but because you set a new standard that exposed their mediocrity. You became the measuring stick they can't help but compare themselves to. And some of them, the ones with even a shred of self-awareness left, will realize what they lost. They'll see you thriving without them and understand that they weren't part of your downfall. They were the weight you had to drop to ascend. And that realization, that moment, when they understand they were the villain in your story, not the victim, that will haunt them longer than any revenge you could have taken. But let's get back to that moment, that powerful, clarifying moment when you walked through your door and everything shifted. Because this wasn't random, this wasn't luck, this wasn't some cosmic accident. This was earned. Every tear you cried in silence, every night you survived when survival seemed impossible, every time you chose to wake up and try again when giving up would have been easier, all of that was building toward this moment. You were being forged, tempered, refined in fires that would have turned others to ash. And what emerged from those flames wasn't the same person who entered them. What emerged was a force of nature, a walking cleansing, a human embodiment of purification. You became the very thing that darkness fears most, someone who has seen the worst of themselves and the worst of the world and decided to become better anyway. This is why the demons screamed, not because you were performing some ritual, not because you were invoking some ancient power, but because you are the ancient power. You are what happens when someone refuses to let pain define them, refuses to let trauma own them, refuses to let the world break them permanently. You are proof that transformation is possible, that evolution is real, that people can change so fundamentally that they become unrecognizable to their former selves. And that proof, that living, breathing proof that redemption and power and peace can coexist in one person, that is more threatening to the forces of stagnation than any weapon ever forged. Because if you can do it, if you can rise from absolute destruction and become this powerful, then their entire worldview collapses. The narrative that people don't change, that victims stay victims, that the broken stay broken, all of it crumbles in the face of your existence. So now you carry this everywhere, not just in your house, but in every room you enter, every space you occupy, every interaction you have. You are a walking purge, a mobile cleansing, a human exorcism that happens automatically without your conscious effort. People will feel it when they meet you, even if they can't explain it. The ones who carry darkness will feel uncomfortable, judged, exposed, even though you're not doing anything to make them feel that way. Your presence alone is a mirror that reflects their true nature back at them, and most people can't handle that kind of raw honesty. They'll call you intimidating, intense, too much, because what they really mean is, you make me uncomfortable with who I am when I'm around you. Good. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them feel exposed. Let them confront themselves in your presence, because that's the only way they'll ever change. And for the ones who carry light, the ones who have done their own work, the ones who have walked through their own fires and emerged transformed, they'll feel something else entirely when they meet you. They'll feel recognition, kinship, home. They'll see the scars you carry and understand the battles they represent without you having to explain. They'll feel your frequency and match it naturally because they exist on the same level you do. These are your people, your tribe, your real family, not bound by blood or history or convenience, but by shared evolution, by the understanding that only comes from surviving what shouldn't be survivable, by the respect that only exists between people who have earned their power through pain. And when you find these people, when you connect with others who vibrate at your frequency, you'll build something unbreakable. A network of souls who refuse to be dimmed, a community of warriors who know that true strength comes from surviving your own destruction. Walking purge, a mobile cleansing, a human exorcism that happens automatically without your conscious effort. People will feel it when they meet you, even if they can't explain it. The ones who carry darkness will feel uncomfortable, judged, exposed, even though you're not doing anything to make them feel that way. Your presence alone is a mirror that reflects their true nature back at them, and most people can't handle that kind of raw honesty. They'll call you intimidating, intense, too much, because what they really mean is, you make me uncomfortable with who I am when I'm around you. Good. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them feel exposed. Let them confront themselves in your presence, because that's the only way they'll ever change. And for the ones who carry light, the ones who have done their own work, the ones who have walked through their own fires and emerged transformed, they'll feel something else entirely when they meet you. They'll feel recognition, kinship, home. They'll see the scars you carry and understand the battles they represent without you having to explain. They'll feel your frequency and match it naturally because they exist on the same level you do. These are your people, your tribe, your real family, not bound by blood or history or convenience, but by shared evolution, by the understanding that only comes from surviving what shouldn't be survivable, by the respect that only exists between people who have earned their power through pain. And when you find these people, when you connect with others who vibrate at your frequency, you'll build something unbreakable. A network of souls who refuse to be dimmed, a community of warriors who know that true strength comes from surviving your own destruction.